Hey everybody, you are listening to the We Are RIZIN podcast, your source for all things RIZIN. News, features, interviews, reviews of fights, etc., etc. I am your host, Andrew Benjamin, and I am joined once again by my faithful co-host, Jay Christian Gary from Focus Fights.
Hey y'all, how's everything going?
And we have a packed show today. So many things to talk about going on in the world of combat sports, pro wrestling, mixed martial arts. But first off, how are you doing, Christian, on this beautiful Sunday?
Oh yes, this Palm Sunday for those of you who are actually religious. But still, I'm doing all right, son. A few issues with my throat, but I'm doing all right. I mean, I'm not hurting too bad.
You know, it's funny that you bring up your did you have like a cold or flu or sore throat or something?
Actually, I had a flu. I had the flu bug last weekend because my little 3-month-old nephew was sick, and then everybody started to get sick.
See, that's why I am not a fan of kids, because kids are like petri dishes of diseases. But it's funny you bring up that you got sick. I caught something over Mania weekends. Mania week. I got what they call it the Mania plague, kind of like con plague. After you go to like a comic convention or something, like New York Comic Con, and you just get sick because you're just interacting with so many people. You just touch the wrong thing. So yeah, I got something pretty nasty as well. I don't know if it wasn't flu, because I did get a flu shot, but it had to be like a sore throat or cold or something, because I was all stuffy and my throat was killing me. And yeah, it was, somebody gave me something at Mania.
Right. And to be honest, at least it's not like convention plague where you have to deal with a bunch of bad odor. Or maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I'll say this. None of the wrestling shows I went to during Mania week did I smell any really bad people. There was, as far as, there were, I am somebody with a sensitive nose. I can smell death a mile away. I really couldn't pinpoint anybody who smelled bad. I go to New York Comic Con every year, and trust me, every year it gets worse, because the Jacob Javits Center, which is it's a convention center in New York City that mostly holds trade shows for like cars and all that stuff, but that's where they have the New York Comic Con, and every year there's more and more people, and it's a 3-4 day convention, and people just do not wash their cosplays or their clothes or whatever, and it smells nasty as fuck. I cannot say though that it happened, that any of the shows I went to during Mania week, anybody really smelled bad. So that I can at least say the most.
Basically, even though I know people are basically trying to put out the message that cosplay is not consent,
Yeah.
but if you still rocking the same cosplay outfit and haven't taken a bath in 3 days, who wouldn't even want to consent to you, pretty much?
It's gross, yeah. Yeah, the thing is that also, some of these people have such, complex cosplays that putting them on and taking them off is very, very hard. So I know that there are people that will sleep in their costumes. And then
that's just gross.
And when they get up, they're just gonna put on some like Axe body spray or something else on. Yeah, it happens a lot. And here's the thing: New York Comic Con, I think they had last year 20,000 people. Let me double check on that number. It was either 15 or I'm trying to remember how many people it was, but it was a lot. It was at least in the it was a 5-digit number. Now hold on. I'm actually, so 2016 they had over 180,000 people there. So if they had over 180,000 people in 2016, they must have had close to 2,000 people, 200,000 people this past year, last year, 2018. So, just imagine if a bunch of people, imagine half those people wearing the same cosplays, were just not showering, and just one venue. That is not good at all.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that would be the automatic sign for me to stay my ass home, because I would not, in any way, shape, or form, be wanting to fuck with them, especially if they haven't taken a shower in like 3 or 4 days.
Actually, here's the number I got from PublishersWeekly.com. 250,000 people last year for New York Comic Con.
Wow.
And I can tell you, the Jacob Javits Center is not made to hold that many people. That if there is ever
Madison Square Garden is not that built.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, that's why they split up the convention. They split up, like, they'll have some events at the Hulu Theater. They'll have some other events at like the Manhattan Ballroom or the Grand Ballroom, whichever one it is.
Wait a minute, aren't those buildings two different places?
Yes.
In the same building.
Yeah, they're two different. Yeah, they're two different places on the same street. So, Javits Center is all the way on 12th Avenue, which is right where the water is, and you can see Jersey from across the street, from across 12th Avenue. Now, on the same street though, but closer to like Penn Station and Madison Square Garden, is obviously the Hulu Theater, which is inside Madison Square Garden, and then the Manhattan Ballroom, which is right 2 blocks away from where MSG is. Yeah, so they'll sometimes have, for the bigger stuff, for like Walking Dead, will always be at MSG just because everybody comes to Comic-Con for MSG. They had they have a bunch of the New York, like Avatar, JoJo or one of those shows, some of the anime
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
One of those anime shows, yeah, the big anime shows. Oh yeah, they had Broly. They had Broly at I think it was the Manhattan Ballroom last year. So yeah,
oh God, you're not talking about Vic Mangina, aren't you?
Well, who? Sorry.
Victor Joseph McNanya, the voice of Broly.
Oh, I have no idea. I got invited to the Broly press junket last year. My friend wanted to go. We wound up not going at the last minute, but like he was just telling me about all the actors and all that stuff, and I just was like, I don't know who the fuck these people are for this what is it? It's supposed to be like Naruto or something? Naruto or DBZ?
It's DBZ.
Okay,
I'm talking about Broly. It's DBZ.
Okay. So I don't know the fucking difference. So, like, the voice actors were there, and like one of the creators of like the Broly thing was there. He was Japanese, so yeah, that's supposed. Yeah, they've had to split up a lot of things that go on at the Javits Center and just have them at other venues, just because Javits Center gets so crowded, and you can't book The Walking Dead anymore. It's gotta be at MSG, just because Walking Dead's so big now.
Because they basically sell out the place just for them.
Yeah, and I cannot wait till when Walking Dead is over, because then less and less people will start going to Comic-Con, and that'll make me happy.
Right.
But speaking of, going back to Mania Week, did you happen to see any of the shows from Mania Week?
I seen the results for Bloodsport. I seen the results and part of the show for Stardom, who had their first U.S. exposure on the East Coast after, when they came here to the States the first time, they had shows in California, and they featured folks like Cheerleader Melissa and Shayna Baszler. But now they made their first exposure on the East Coast, and it sucks that one of their competitors from the high speed title got injured. trying to wrestle a match in the States, but still, it was fun to see them. But I did obviously manage to see the G1 Supercard, and even though I only saw like bits and pieces of the Honor Rumble, and everybody was pissed when Kenny King won the Battle Royal over the Great Muta and Jushin Thunder Liger, whose theme was dubbed over the live broadcast. I mean, still, that show suns a couple of incidents, the Beautiful People and Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. That show was pretty fun.
Yes, it was. It was pretty fun. Unfortunately, just like with Mania, with almost every show on Mania, I'll say, I thought it was way too long. I was in that arena and I was getting exhausted by like match, probably after like Naito and Ibushi. I'm just over long wrestling shows. I really am. I can't do it anymore. I really can't. I don't know how it was. I don't know how it was on television, the way you watched it, but here's the thing. So basically, my friend and I sat in that arena in our seats for 6 hours because we got there as soon as the first match started, which was a women's tag match that they filmed for television.
Yeah, actually, it was a 6-woman Women of Honor tag team match that they are probably not going to show on television.
Oh, okay. I thought it was filmed for like their show, the TV, the Ring of Honor TV show. But barring that, that we were in that arena for about 6 hours.
I know of a couple of people that basically stayed there that long, and one of them is our co-host, Joseph Matos, JM Factor, who was basically there with you guys.
Yes, I said hello to him. I met people from the, I apologize, I'm forgetting what it's called. It's like the Suplex something or other. Rich Latta.
I think Suplex City Limits, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me look it up, because I don't want to be, a Social Suplex.
Okay.
Rich Latta. I was also very drunk because I had so basically, a few weeks before Mania, my friends and I did pro wrestling trivia at a bar, and we came in first place. We murked all the other teams there, and one of the prizes was a $50 bar tab. So on the day of the Ring of Honor show, I decided, you know what? My friends don't want to join me for this to use this bar tab. I'm gonna use it myself. So I went to the bar and basically just spent about $75 in drinks at the bar.
Wow.
So I was very hammered when I met Joseph. It was actually the second time I met him, because I met him at the New Japan Matsuri show in Brooklyn.
The Festival of Honor, right?
No, not the Festival. That's something different. This was a New Japan only thing at a place called Japan Village, which is a Japanese supermarket in the Brooklyn area. And they basically had they had like talk show things. They had like Yano doing a talk show thing. They had Liger opening up the ceremony. They had Tanahashi doing a talk show thing. It was basically, it's kind of like if you ever watched those TV shows in Japan where they like come out and like where they have, it's like the morning TV shows in Japan type thing, I guess you could say.
Mhm. Right.
But the thing is that the best show of the entire week had to be Bloodsport.
Oh, most definitely. Because when it comes down to that particular show, they always love to call WrestleMania the showcase of the Immortals. I would basically call, Bloodsport the showcase not for the faint of heart.
Exactly. So I was there live. It was at the White Eagle Hall in Jersey City, New Jersey. It was absolute hell getting there. I hate going to Jersey anytime, but going to Jersey during Mania week seemed a lot a lot more. It was not good. I don't know what the equivalent of it would be in Texas. Would it be like, I don't know, going from Houston to Alamo or vice versa? I have no idea.
Nah, for us, it would be traveling up Highway 290 trying to go all the way out to College Station or something.
Okay, College Station,
Knowing
Texas.
that damn thing is not going to get fixed anytime soon.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, that's what they did with a lot of these shows this year. For Mania Week, they split the show. A lot of shows were split between Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, and Jersey. And I basically just did all my shows for the days I went to go see shows. I basically was like, okay, I'm gonna stay in one area to see all the shows. And for the day that Bloodsport happened, that's what I did. So I was originally going to do 4 shows, but I instead went to the New Japan thing in Brooklyn. Then I headed to the Bloodsport show, which was at around like 2 o'clock-ish. And apart from the fact that it was the best wrestling show, in my personal opinion, it was also the best show because it was also the shortest. It was about 2.5 hours long. And when all the other shows are going 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, Joey Ryan's penis party went about 4 hours long. And I went to that show live. And so, when Bloodsport can get it right, that is telling you something that, like, okay, Bloodsport is doing something right, and a lot of the other shows are doing something wrong. I'm trying to think what. Oh yeah, the show was packed. It was sold out. There was barely any room to walk around. White Eagle Hall is kind of like, I don't know if it's like a tiny concert venue. That's how I kind of like got the feeling of what it was. It's like maybe like a CBGB's or trying to think of the Knitting Factory. These I don't know if you're familiar with either of those, Christian, but CBGB's was a famous venue in New York City where Blonde.
Yeah, I remember people talking about CBGB's before it got closed down.
Gotcha. The Knitting Factory in Brooklyn as well is kind of like the same thing as well. So yeah, this venue so they had a balcony as well, and they have a bar on the first floor. But really, like, considering how also like every wrestler and every show is basically the same. Lots of high spots, lots of no-selling, lots of ironic wrestling, as the term has been coined. A lot of wrestling that's not taken seriously. Bloodsport was such a great breath of fresh air to just... Because here's the other thing as well. So, when I was there were people treating the show as if it was real. Like, they were people who were yelling, like, hey, go for his leg, go for his leg, go for a knockout, go for a knockout. And you never really hear that anymore at any wrestling shows.
Mm-hmm.
And
mostly because of the fact that even though they know that it's predetermined, I mean, I'm still not trying to say it's fake or anything like that. They know that the wrestlers are not going to go for the knockout or sweep the leg like it's the Karate Kid or something.
Exactly, yeah. And it felt really cool, just like, you can go into a Bloodsport show and believe it's real for that 2 hours that you're there. You can think that these guys are really hurting each other, that they're not playing patty cake like they do in WWE. That it looks and feels like an actual fight. And I know there's a lot of wrestling fans who don't like that style. There's a lot of wrestling fans who want there to be flips. They want it to be like more sports entertainment than sports. And that's fine.
They basically want less fist and more flips.
That's yeah, and I think there's a place for that. The problem is when that's the only type of wrestling that's around. And I feel like, it's almost like wrestling now has to go backwards now. We kind of have to go do a reverse. Since everything has basically been done, that going backwards is going forward in some way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because a lot of people wouldn't survive the lessons that Carl Gotch or the late great Billy Robinson would give to folks like Minoru Suzuki or Shayna Baszler or Josh Barnett.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But it's kind of like I'm trying to think of it's like with movies. So for a while, with horror movies, there was a big trend that horror movies were using a lot of CGI and computer effects. But right now, there's but right now there's kind of a little bit of a backwards trend where a lot of horror movies are using traditional effects. They're using they're using real makeup. They're using like prosthetics. They're using makeup. They're using blood packets because the CGI just became so ubiquitous that it no longer looked like special effects anymore. It was too gimmicky. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because mostly it was done to death after Freddy vs. Jason in 2002.
I was thinking
just everybody started pouring in on it.
I was exactly thinking the same thing. So, yeah. So it's exactly that. Yet I feel like wrestling, something like Bloodsport is more forward thinking now because all these wrestlers are doing flips, they're doing dives, they're not selling anything. There's no psychology in matches, and with Bloodsport basically is basically doing what wrestling used to be in the 80s and 90s, and now.
Well, actually, it used to be. I mean, pro wrestling used to be legitimate back in the 20s and 30s.
Uh-huh.
The shoot style of professional wrestling blossomed in the mid 80s when the original Tiger Mask was like Shudo.
Yeah, and exactly. And so that's that's why I think people like Zack Sabre Jr. and when he was on the Indies, Matt Riddle, Jonathan Gresham, these people are becoming more popular wrestlers because, especially now, because if everybody's doing flips, nobody stands out. When you have few people who do submission, who do Carl Gotch catch can wrestling like a Timothy Thatcher or Minoru Suzuki or Hideki Suzuki. These people stand out than the Young Bucks or I'm trying to think of
basically the Young Bucks and people like, no disrespect to those folks. I mean, I understand they make a lot of money for what they do, but sometimes they need to realize that flips ain't the only thing that can get a match going.
Exactly. Do you want to go over this Bloodsport card? Want to talk about?
Oh yeah, I mean you can go ahead and kick off the results of that.
Let me just because I forgot my notebook when I went to the show, so I actually was taking notes on my Android. So let me see if I can get all that up. And I have the results and times right here. So basically, the other thing was that it was all singles matches, no tag matches. All but 3 of the matches went under 10 minutes. That includes so that also tells you longer isn't always better. Sometimes shorter is better. And I can tell you that a lot of these matches were great being 9, 7, 3 minutes. So just for any wrestlers out there, having your 30-minute epic match may not be the best suit. Sometimes shorter is better. I'll just leave that at that. But the first match.
And I have the match notes up right here.
Okay, great. So I'll let you start off of it, Christian.
Okay. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist Dominic Garrini, or Gari, defeated the New York badass Phil Baroni in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. However, it was because of the fact that Baroni got a little bit too testy with the referee. Why don't you explain that?
Yeah, so apparently Phil Baroni, he used, well, first off, Phil Baroni came out with MMA gloves and wrestler shoes. He was healing up the crowd. He was talking shit to everybody. And then during the match, basically the whole match was basically Dominic Garrini trying to get Phil Baroni to the ground to submit him. But Phil Baroni was like, nah, I ain't doing that. And then Phil Baroni gave a closed fist, which is illegal in Bloodsport. Only palm strikes are allowed to Dominic Garrini. And then originally he ruled it as a knockout. But no, I'm not. It wasn't a full fist. It was a kick to the ground, I believe it was. A kick while he was on the ground. And the
grounded opponent.
Yes. So it looks like they go by UFC unified rules for Bloodsport at least. Yeah. So what happened was that so he gave this kick which the referee initially did not see. So he ruled it as a knockout. But then Garrini then said no. He kicked me while I was on the ground. And then, the referee reversed his decision. I'm just going to read this from CageSideSeats.com. Actually, there was also a Phil Jabroni chant, which is funny. What was it? Phil Baroni abuses the referee as Dom recovers, and then as Greeny stands up, he is met with an even better-looking straight right that knocks him out for the count. Baroni will not leave the referee alone and gets disqualified. I stand corrected. I also have to add as well, I was also drunk as well at this show, so I apologize if my memory is not 100% correct. So Baroni will not leave the referee alone and gets disqualified anyway. So Guarini ends up getting his hand raised and cheers from the audience. So basically, he won by knocking him out, but basically got disqualified for continuing to beat down his opponent. I'm trying to think, has that ever happened in MMA before? Where a referee reverses a knockout? I know there's been... Didn't, what's his name? Rusimir Paul Harris have, like, one...
Yeah,
did he have a submission win overturned because he held it on for too long, I think?
Yeah, I think it was at a WSOF show, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that the Jake Shields? The Jake Shields fight that he had?
Probably so.
Has there ever been a fight where an MMA fight where somebody knocked out the other person, just kept on wailing them, remember there was that no, it wasn't Shinya. Was it Shinya Aoki? No, I don't think it was. There's that famous fight.
It probably wasn't.
There was a fight in Japan, may have been for Pride or Dream, where he would not stop beating on his opponent. And I think like Renzo Gracie, who was on one side, came in and like got involved. Do you happen to remember that at all, Christian?
That was probably in Pride, dude, but I don't really remember all that much about it.
Okay. I don't think it's ever happened in UFC though, where somebody. The only thing I can think of that's remotely close would be the Roy Nelson versus, I think it was Nogueira, Big Nog, where he kicked the referee in the ass. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was basically him just playing around with Big John McCarthy. Even though CAB MMA, the Brazilian MMA Commission, didn't see it as such.
But I'm guessing that the decision wasn't overturned, though, right? But he was fined, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, he was fined. He was made to go to court in Brazil, even though I don't know how the proceedings went down, especially considering the fact that they spoke mostly Portuguese.
Yeah. There's only one language that Roy Nelson speaks, and that's the language of food, and enchiladas, and burritos.
Exactly.
But out of all the matches, though, this was probably my least favorite, from what I remember, just because of the weird finish. I was told by people who worked for Bloodsports. The friend I went with does know people who do work with Bloodsport, that this ending was not supposed to be how it happened initially. It was originally supposed to be a win for not Guarini, for Baroni, but I'll say that one of the two fighters in that match was very, very difficult. So that's why they did the kind of the screwy finish at the end.
Right. But if you think about it, Baroni probably did that just to get more MMA bookings, and from what I'm looking at right now, he has an upcoming booking in Russia on the 3rd in Penza against former Road FC title contender Shamil the Lion of Dagestan Zaburov. I mean, I just hope that fight will be shown somewhere, but still. Point of the matter is, I think Baroni was trying to do that not only to get more bookings as far as MMA goes, but to really piss off pro wrestling purists. Because he has been wrestling a little bit for like the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And his gimmick was to basically show, hey, you know what? We MMA fighters can do the same type of shit that y'all do.
I also know that he was incredibly drunk throughout the entire time that he was in that venue.
Damn, so he basically worked the match drunk?
I don't know if he worked the match drunk. I can't confirm that, but he was drunk at least after the match. The entire, because they had 2 more shows, after the Bloodsport show. And I believe that Baroni stuck around for at least one of those shows, and I heard he was plastered as fuck during that match. During the entire day. Not during the match, excuse me.
At least he didn't have to wrestle. At least he didn't have to wrestle a few more times like some of the competitors on this card.
Oof, yeah. And actually, speaking of getting plastered, and I don't mean getting drunk plastered. I mean kicking the shit out of each other like they were made of plaster. Bad transition, I know, but I don't care. Let's talk about the next match, though, because this was awesome, this next match.
Yes. J.R. Kratos, who had a sizable advantage as far as weight went, defeated the devious Journey Simon Grimm in 9 minutes and 10 seconds. What was your thoughts about this match?
Let me get my notes up on my phone, because I wrote my notes on here. Where is it? Well, J.R. Kratos won by knockout. He delivered a power bomb. Well, he was in Simon Grimm's guard, and then he basically kind of like power bombed him, kind of like
Rampage and Ricardo Arona.
Oh yeah, I was about to say Matt Hughes and oh my god, I'm forgetting the other guy. Matt Hughes. Who did Matt Hughes power bomb in UFC?
To be honest, I don't know, because the only thing I remember when it came down to power bombs in professional MMA was was Rampage Jackson power bombing Ricardo Arona while Arona had a submission hold on.
Yeah,
that was like one of the highlights of the old Pride FC days.
So yeah, basically Simon Grimm didn't have him in submission, but he was in his guard.
I think you meant Matt Hughes versus Carlos Derone
Yeah.
Newton, right?
Yes, yeah. While both of those were in submissions, though, this wasn't in his submission, though. So, it was in his guard. But nonetheless, it still looked brutal. And what happened was that it was actually probably more like Rampage, because technically, Matt Hughes was out when he gave that power bomb. So, but when Rampage get that power bomb, he was awake as fuck, and as soon as he blasted Arona to the underworld, he just started pounding on him. That's basically what happened with this. Kratos power bombed Grim, and then just started elbowing him to his face, and the referee waved it off by knockout. But during this match, Kratos got busted open hard way on his nose. I don't know if he got a broken nose or like he just got what caused it. Excuse me, but he was bleeding pretty bad from his nose. Simon Grimm also, his mustache was shaved, so he looked totally different. He looked so much more different without the mustache. And I was
basically he looked clean shaven, right?
Oh yeah, but I was very disappointed. I was hoping he would go into the match with a mustache, but this was basically like a hard hitting match with Oh, and also the great Kratos, he wore like these He normally wears legless trunks. He wore these leggings during the match, and I thought wow, they looked like G pant leggings, that a Gordon Ryan or a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy would wear. But this was Kratos. This is my first time seeing him live. Kratos, he's a wrestler who he clearly is a power guy, and he's a guy who he needs to be booked as a guy who's like a monster. And if he's going up against a small guy like Simon Grimm, he's a guy he can work with smaller guys. There's just some big people who just cannot work with smaller guys. They just don't connect, or they're always fucking up all the moves. He and Simon Grimm had great chemistry. This was a very good match. It wasn't my favorite match of the show, but it was incredible. Just the amount of punishment these two were giving each other. It was an absolutely great match.
I see. And another great match you could probably talk about is the crazy boy, Masashi Takeda, who did work a death match later on that weekend, but he defeated Jonathan Gresham, the Human Octopus, the former Reality of Wrestling and Combat Zone Wrestling heavyweight champion at 7 minutes and 1 second, but really, actually, I'm going out of order on the matches here, because the next match after that was Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus. But what were your thoughts about the Takeda Gresham match, real quick?
Oh wait, you want me to talk about Davey Boy Smith Jr. Killer Cross or Takeda Gresham?
We can talk about Takeda versus Gresham first.
Well, first of all, Takeda, his body's absolutely disgusting. He's got scars all over his body. I have no idea how he can sleep at night without being in fucking pain. Basically, yeah, the most memorable thing in the match. I'm not saying that that everything in the match was bad, but what happened was that Masashi Takeda, as you said, is a deathmatch wrestler, still managed to somehow bleed during this match, and I'm gonna explain how it happened.
Wow.
They were caught in a double submission.
Wow.
It was kind of like a 50-50 guard. Or they both had ankle locks or foot locks on each other, and they rolled out of the ring. Also, the other thing as well, Bloodsport does not have ring ropes, so you can't grab a ring rope. If you crawl, the only way you're getting out of the ring is by crawling out of the ring. So there's no ropes to bounce off or do anything off of. They fall out of the ring, and it looked like Takeda smashed his face on the ground. I have no idea if it was hard way or if he gigged, but he was bleeding from his eye. I believe it was his left eye. And basically the entire match was them working submissions over each other. And that was the thing that Takeda was Takeda's submissions were more over because I think the people that were there were familiar with Gresham. So Gresham's gonna do this. Takeda, they knew, this guy's a deathmatch guy. So what is he gonna do? He's working abdominal stretches. He's working the arm. He's working the legs. And so Takeda was massively over when he would do all these grappling stuff. It was really cool. But it ended not by submission, but by knockout. So what happened was that a reminiscent if you remember Nakamura versus Sakuraba, Wrestle Kingdom, I think it was 8. Was it Wrestle Kingdom?
Actually, it was Wrestle Kingdom 9.
So, no, it wasn't Wrestle Kingdom 9. That was one that was on pay-per-view here. Sakuraba and Nakamura.
Okay.
Nakamura. I'm trying.
Yeah, it was probably Wrestle Kingdom 8.
Okay. If not, it was Wrestle Kingdom 7. But there was a moment where Sakuraba, since Nakamura tried to go in for a takedown, but then Sakuraba knees him right in the face, and Nakamura goes down. That's basically how this match ended. Gresham tried to go for a takedown. Takeda does a jumping knee, knocks him out. Referee waves it off. It was an absolutely brutal knockout. Beautiful. Absolutely. This was maybe my second favorite match of the night. This match was so awesome. And here's the thing: they only went 7 minutes long, 7 minutes and 1 second, and it was awesome. These two were fantastic. I would love to see Takeda in more non-deathmatch stuff if he ever wants to go back, if he ever wants to do it again. It was fantastic. Absolutely great.
I wouldn't mind seeing Takeda compete more in non-deathmatch competition, even if it means a possible return to MMA for him. Because he does have a damn good record.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gresham, I wasn't a fan of his when he started out, but every time I see him more, I become more and more a fan of his.
But by the way, the match you were talking about, Sakuraba versus Nakamura, that did happen at Wrestle Kingdom 9. Sorry to burst your bubble there.
Are you 100% ice? Because I thought, which is the Wrestle Kingdom that they had in America? The one that was aired on pay-per-view in America.
Actually, no. That was Wrestle Kingdom 7.
Oh, okay. I knew it was either 8 or 7. I knew it could have been 9 because 9 was the one that they aired on pay-per-view here, and that was my first time ever watching a full Wrestle Kingdom ever in a straight Wrestle Kingdom. But you want to go to that Davey Boy Smith Jr. Killer Cross match?
Yes. Davey Boy Smith Jr. defeated Killer Cross in 12 minutes 34 seconds via submission, right?
Yes, he did. He tapped out Killer Cross with a crossface. Funny. But basically, the match was at first it looked like they did a. You ever heard the term Gracie tap?
Yeah.
It looked like Killer Cross did that initially during maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes into the match where he did a Gracie tap to Davey Boy Smith and he thought he won. And then Davey Boy Smith was like, I felt you tap. And Killer Cross was like, no, I didn't. So, Killer Cross was kind of, playing a little bit of his, Impact character. He wasn't, full silent violence guy, but, he was more, cunning in this match, I guess you could say. Obviously Davey Boy Smith Jr. was doing, the catch can stuff, grappling holds. But there was a great sequence between the two where they were just palm striking each other in the face, and it was just, you could just feel them just hitting each other. I felt like the way I will never forget that sound of them just cracking each other in the face.
Indeed.
Davey Boy Smith was also so over with the crowd as well. It was actually funny. Killer Cross was not booked on the TNA on the Impact show that was that same night in New Jersey.
Well, I'm pretty sure there probably had to be some issues with that.
I thought it was kind of weird. I don't even know if he was booked on any other shows. I don't know if he was. I think he was only booked on Bloodsport that day.
I mean, come to think of it, he might have been booked for Black Craft wrestling event that happened on the Friday of
the
weekend, but
the Black Craft show. That's I'm so glad I didn't go to that show. I'm really glad.
Yeah, because you would have basically stayed out a little bit past your bedtime, and then somebody might have broken into your house.
Exactly. But yeah, this was a great match. You know, I'm trying to think of what else during the match. I'm trying. Killer Cross. He's a, you know, I was wondering how he would do this because like I just see him more as a traditional pro wrestler. Actually, you know, here's a funny thing as well. Do you know he trained at Syndicate MMA for a while?
Oh, I mean, I think I heard about that, but I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, like way after, like the day after that I wrote my preview for him on MMAsucker.com, like I went on his Instagram and just like all this stuff, like I found like these videos of him training boxing at Syndicate MMA.
Oh, okay.
And also he also what was it? He also was he had he did something with Pancreas, like a Pancreas MMA fighter, a pro wrestler before. Like he had like a match with them. Like no, okay. In Future Stars of Wrestling, wherever he was first starting, he was doing like the old Pancreas, Minoru Suzuki, catch as catch can style wrestling.
Right.
Now he doesn't
like the snake pit stuff.
Yeah, snake pit stuff. Yeah, and like, but now he doesn't do it anymore because you know I don't think it would fit his character and Impact. But like that's what hell he used to wrestle before as when he first started.
Yeah, and that's how he basically got booked to the Inoki Genome Federation.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I thought initially that I was like, oh, this is probably the most pro wrestler guy that they have on here. No, he probably is one of the least pro wrestling guys that they have had on the card entirely. But yeah, you know, it was a great match between these two. The crowd was so hot for not Killer Cross, for Davey Boy Smith Jr. He was so over. And he is a huge guy as well, Davey Boy Smith Jr. Absolutely huge.
Oh yeah, like they said about people like him back in the day, he was built like a brick shithouse.
Exactly. You want to go into the next match there, Christian?
Oh yes, most certainly. And you know the thing about less is more, right?
Oh yes.
Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson defeated Andy Williams, the bass guitarist from Every Time I Die, in 3 minutes 45 seconds. What were your thoughts about this match?
So this match was awesome. 3 minutes of awesomeness, and the match started off with them beating the shit out of each other. They were basically, it was like Fry Takayama. That's how they started the match. They were just slapping the shit out of each other, and then Dickinson just like steamrolls over him, like gave him a power bomb, and then managed to lock in a rear naked chokehold at the end of the match for the tap out. But these were just two hosses beating the shit out of each other for 3 minutes, and it worked. It was fantastic. Just absolutely, it was beautiful violence. And the sad thing is that, people might dismiss the match because it was only 3 minutes. I thought it was a great 3 minutes. I wish that length didn't matter so much in matches. They did enough. They did more than 3 minutes than I've seen in some matches that go 45 minutes. And they both, this is my first time seeing Andy Williams. Andy Williams has a great look. He's a unique look. I absolutely love the way that he comes out. He comes out with the monocle and the was it fur coat or leather jacket? One of those things, because I saw him on 2 different shows.
Probably a fur coat.
Yeah, he has an absolutely great look. He looks like an absolute badass. He has a handlebars mustache. Yeah, these two worked so great with each other. It was absolutely great. 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars, as some journalists might say.
I know who exactly you're talking about. Let's not mention his Yes. But let's move on because there goes that theme again. Less is more. 43-year-old Frank Mir submitted 62-year-old Dan the Beast Severn with a heel hook. 3 minutes 43 seconds. What were your thoughts about this match, and what was your initial reaction to Frank Mir making his pro wrestling debut, albeit in the company of Phil Baroni?
Yeah, it's so funny because, like, oh well, first of all, Frank Mir was wearing Bellator shorts in his match, which was really cool. Dan Severn, who we interviewed on the show, almost 60 years old, yet, I don't want it's weird. He's always been like, he looks in shape. He looks in better like he never had the ripped abs. He never had like the svelte body. But yet you could tell this guy was strong as fuck. And like looking at nearly 60-year-old Dan Severn, you can tell this guy still goes to the gym every day. You can tell he still works out on the cardio machine. You can tell this guy still like maybe picks up like sandbags or some sort of. This guy, you can tell this guy's strong as fuck. And with the big question was, how was Frank Mir gonna work this match? And they worked the match barely standing up. It went to the ground almost immediately. And they were it became like a grappling match that you'd see in like Submission Underground or Metamorphosis or Quintet, which we'll be talking about later. Yeah, and they were basically just like rolling around. And then, just like when Frank Mir beat Brock Lesnar, they were the first time. They were rolling around for a bit. He got that, in that case it was a knee bar. In this case it was a heel hook. He got it. Dan Severn tapped out immediately. I think it did surprise a lot of people. A lot of people were kind of like, "Oh, that's it? That's what happened?" But then when it happened, people were like, "Oh, okay. We see what happened. We understand why it happened." Now, after the match, Frank Mir got on the microphone, and I couldn't hear him at first because the acoustics were horrible in this venue. But apparently he said that he's getting into pro wrestling because this is the only way that Brock Lesnar, I know that Brock Lesnar will face me. He'll never face me in MMA again, but he'll face me in a pro wrestling match and I can beat him once again or something like that.
He basically said, and this was his quote, not ours, but he basically said he wanted to kill Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah, he said that. Yeah, he did say that. It's funny. There were some people who actually were like, who said they were very uncomfortable that he said that. And it's like, I don't know. I think there's worse things to be mad about than him saying that. But yeah, he said that, and yeah, this it was great. The match was simple enough. Frank Mir was able to just outlast Dan Severn, and like we predicted, Frank Mir is a better submission guy. So you kind of figure that Frank Mir would submit a guy like Dan Severn on any given Sunday.
Or in this case, any given Friday.
Yeah. Oh no, it was Thursday.
Actually, any given day of the week, really.
Yeah, essentially so. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Now the next match we should go to is a match that a lot of people seem to have enjoyed, other than the main event. Hideki Suzuki, who, for a few U.S. viewers, myself included, the first introduction we got of him was when he faced off against Josh Barnett on New Year's Eve 2011, and he got powerbombed half to death by Barnnett, but they had a pretty good match.
Yeah.
Inside that Dream M1 Global K1 event. But yeah, Hideki Suzuki, who was trained by Billy Robinson, he made his U.S. debut and defeated another skilled catch wrestler, and Timothy Thatcher, who spent some time in Europe, in 12 minutes. Now, first of all, what did Suzuki defeat Thatcher by, and what were your overall thoughts about this match?
Well, he defeated him by KO with double arm suplex.
Okay.
I know it's surprising, you think wrestling is now like, oh, you can't knock out anybody with anything, and he knocks him out with a double arm suplex. So what I think of the match overall, I thought it was great. So basically, at first the match started out like, with holds and arm locks and that sort of thing, and then it became a slap and kick fest where they were just slapping each other, kicking each other in the chest. So it was the match was 12 minutes, and it was basically like one half of the match was submission, the other half became striking. I like that. It was really, 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 really cool. And I know that a lot of people don't like Thatcher. I know a lot of people don't like Hideki Suzuki. I like Thatcher and I like Suzuki. Because they wrestle so differently. They wrestle so differently than the average wrestler that you see on the indies. But yeah, I love this match. This match was fantastic, and it was a great way to end it because like the whole thing was basically the story of the match was that Suzuki was trying to suplex Thatcher, but basically what happened was that Thatcher would block it every time he would try to go for a suplex. So you knew, okay, this suplex it can mean the end. And when he finally got it, and he didn't get up, referee waved it off, and the audience completely understood. Yeah, that ends it. That ends it right there. Fantastic match. That was probably my third favorite match of the entire show.
I mean, would you basically say it's better than the main event?
Oh no, the main event was something special. I absolutely love the main events. It was something. It was an incredibly special match in many ways, and we could talk about. It's so funny that like, what we want to just go right into the main event, and I could talk about like why it was so awesome.
Ah, yes, the main event. Josh Barnett, the War Master Josh Barnett, versus the modern-day wrestling badass, Minoru Suzuki. He wrestled to a 25-minute time limit draw. And you know what? It's weird to me because I just stumbled upon this interview that, Josh Barnett put up in like 2016 when he was still with the UFC saying MMA can learn a lot from professional wrestling. I want to get your thoughts on this match, but I want to get your thoughts overall on what you think, what you think that MMA could learn from the pro wrestling that was displayed on this show.
Let's see. Well, that a lot of that MMA and pro wrestling, let's say in the case of Phil Baroni, there are ways. Well, here's the thing as well. There's a lot of people, I think there's a lot of fighters who know how to work a crowd, how to talk themselves into a title shot. But I think a lot of fighters also don't know how to do that. I think a lot of fighters lack. I'm trying to think of how to say it without sounding too mean.
They lack a certain pizzazz. They lack a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Also publicly, like Nate Diaz when he called out Conor McGregor after defeating Michael Johnson, and we know he did it. When he, I'm not surprised. Oh no, that was where he's like, Conor McGregor, you took everything I got, motherfucker, all that stuff. You know what? Listen, the Diaz brothers are not pro wrestling fans. They despise pro wrestling, but they come from a background where they can talk like a pro wrestler and still sound, they can still have that gift of gab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, basically they can cut pro wrestling style promos, but since gab,
Well, here's
to get a fight.
put it this way, Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest boxers of all time. Here's the thing, though, and I don't know if this is an English thing, or if it's just like how he is personally, but he can never cut a promo, ever. He never seemed.
Oh yeah, of course he couldn't because he's too noble. He's too nice.
And I think the days of GSP, saying, I highly respect my opponent. I was not too impressed with your performance there. I think those days are long gone. Now's the day, in this social media age, of knee-jerk reactions, of shit talking, not clickbait, what do you call it? Starting shit, I think
basically using social media to hype up the fight, and one of the first examples of that was the Frank Shamrock Phil Baroni fight for the Strikeforce middleweight title, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was. No, wait, actually, it was for the Elite XC lightweight title.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what MMA fighters can win from pro wrestling is the promotion on how to sell a fight. Chael Sonnen gets it perfectly down. I know a lot of people don't like Chael Sonnen, but you can't deny it. Chael Sonnen knows how to sell a fight, and people always tune into his fights on television. And in terms of what pro wrestling can win from MMA, this 25-minute match, which originally was 20 minutes, because all the matches all had a limit time limit of 20 minutes. What happened was that this match, Josh Barnett and Minoru Suzuki went to the limit. It went not Broadway, but it went a third Broadway. I think a third or whatever it was. Yeah, it went the full 20 minutes. Crowd started chanting 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. They went 5 more minutes, still went to a draw. They couldn't finish each other. And I think with the MMA thing is that a lot of pro wrestling can learn is that there is an audience for MMA style pro wrestling out there. And I know that, again, like I said before, a lot of fans don't like it for whatever reason. But I think that you can only have so much wrestling that does so many flips. There's a reason why this show sold out. There's a reason why why Bloodsport last year and this year have sold out, and why people have praised them intensely. Because they are so different. They have a feeling that's so different. The wrestling is so different. It's just it's so different, and that's why it stands out. I went to WrestleCon versus US versus the World. Christian, I'm getting an echo on your side. Is the television on?
No, actually, it's just me sitting here by myself.
Okay, because I'm hearing an echo in your background.
Oh, damn, that sucks.
I thought it was a television. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So, I went to WrestleCon versus the World, and US versus the World, and what happened was that there was just, there had to be, 5 different matches where people were, doing dives and just, the only match that was maybe traditional, that was wrestled so differently was Brian Pillman Jr.'s match, where he wrestled an 80s style babyface, where it was like limb work and that sort of thing, and that's the thing is that I know I think that's the problem with pro wrestling now is that it's not taken seriously because of let's be honest, WWE has caused that. When you say that what you're presenting has no stakes, has no value, there no one, the wins and losses don't matter. Nobody's people won't take it seriously. Bloodsport was taken seriously because the wins and losses matter. These guys could get knocked out with a punch. These guys can get knocked out with a head kick. These guys could get submitted with an armbar. The stakes are a lot higher. If the guy's not going to tap out to a sleeper hold in the first 3 minutes of the match, why would you want to pay attention? You know,
Exactly.
so that's where but I know that a lot of and it's funny. One of my favorite eras of Ring of Honor was when Davey Richards was their top guy, and he was doing these shoot style matches that are very reminiscent of like Noah and kind of like the IGF UFO type, and I love that. I love that style because it's just I think it's just a interesting way to present pro wrestling. When you have people, if you have to go, if you have to, there's a way to present wrestling as real, the right way, and that's the in-ring
Mm-hmm.
work. When you're trying to do shoot style angles where people are invading the ring or trying to like have an invasion or whatever it is, that's when you do it wrong.
Yeah, but some of those angles, those invasion angles, are pretty much done to death half the damn time.
Exactly. But I don't want to dread on this too much because we're talking a lot. We still have a lot more to talk about. But yeah, basically, yeah, this match, they were working realistic holds. When Suzuki would get an ankle lock, Josh Barnett would be screaming in pain, but he'd be trying to get out of it, trying to reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
They would they were trying, they were slapping each other, palm strikes to the face and to the chest. There was sweat was flying all over the place. It felt like a war. He he earned his nickname, the War Master, during that match. And Minoru Suzuki, already, they call him the King for a reason. And
Yeah, but he's really so much of a badass that giving him a nickname wouldn't do it justice.
And also, here's the other thing as well. Minoru Suzuki, in every show I saw him on, he was on the Rev Pro show as well, which I went to in the G1 show. He was over on every show. People went crazy for him. So yeah, I think there is an audience for his style of pro wrestling. And the one thing I worry about is when people like him are gone, and Timothy Thatcher is gone, Hideki Suzuki is gone. I feel like a lot of this style of wrestling is going to go away, unfortunately.
Exactly, and
But
I think it's only going to be a matter of time before, I mean, if and when they do pass on to the afterlife, people will basically, throw catch wrestling by the wayside, pretty much.
unfortunately, but yeah, the main event was my favorite match. It was my favorite show for WrestleMania week. It's actually one of my favorite shows of the year in general. It was it was so like I cannot wait for. I think that Bloodsport might be the only WrestleMania week show I will watch religiously every year from now on. I don't think
And
there's.
I mean, come to think of it, I know you were trying to say something. I know you were about to say something, and I hate to interrupt, even though it's kind of my thing. But still, when it came down to Bloodsport, when it came down to that 25-minute draw that Josh Barnett had with Minoru Suzuki, wouldn't be surprised if that leads to the start of a new version of the UWFi or the UWF.
That'd be great, and have a rematch between those two to decide that, like maybe a championship, the Bloodsport champion or whatever.
Or the Real World's Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah,
That was the last held by Vader. May he rest in peace.
exactly. Yeah, it would be great if Bloodsport can continue. But yeah, best show.
Yeah, but it would also be great if, because of the Josh Barnett Hideki Suzuki match, not fight, match, it would be great if catch wrestling could be more integrated, like get its own promotion, so to speak. And that's what I think would happen if Josh Barnett decides to, help bring back that old UWF snake pit style of professional wrestling, but do it like in a promotional sense.
Oh yeah, exactly. That'd be great. That would be great. It would be it would be great from all the flippy doodle stuff that we have on the wrestling circuit right now. It'd be so much better. But if anybody is interested in hearing more about Bloodsport, we do have 2 interviews with one with Dominic Guarini and Dan Severin that we talked to before the show, and you can order the replay on Fight TV. And best show, like I said, best show of WrestleMania week. GCW knows how to make a show, and can't wait for it again next year. With that, Christian, do you want to go into 1FC or Quintet next? What do you think? What do you want to talk about more?
I think we should go into 1FC next. I know that you probably want to talk about Quintet because they made history this past weekend with an all-women's show. But I think it's best that we talk about 1FC and one other thing when it comes down to television ratings.
Oh, yes. So for those that don't know, 1FC, it was actually, how long ago was it? Was that 3 weeks ago that they had the Japan show?
I think it was a little less than 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, because WrestleMania weekend was last weekend. If we are listening to this, it was April 5th to the 8th, or actually April 4th to the 8th. You gotta add in that Monday as well, April 8th, because some shit was wild. But the 1FC show that happened, that was on March 31st. No, wait, actually, that was on March 24th, if I'm not mistaken, but still, it was a little while back.
Yeah, so 1FC had their big Japan debut show at the Tokyo, at the Sumo Hall, or Ryogoku Kokugikan, as Michael Schiavello said many times during the show.
It's actually pronounced Ryogoku Kokugikan.
Yes, and I will not harp on him for mispronouncing it. I will only harp on him for saying it so many goddamn times during the show. Like, literally, it was every other 5 minutes he was saying. And here's the thing. I've been to Japan twice. People I just call it Ryogoku or even just Sumo Hall. Nobody calls it the full name. It'd be like calling the Barclays Center. It's like calling, like, nobody ever says the Barclays Center. Everybody just says the Barclays. Everybody says...
Or just call it Barclays.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, nobody ever calls it the Barclays Center. I never say, hey, I'm going to the Barclays Center. You just say, I'm going to Barclays. Everybody knows what you're talking about. You say in Japan, you're going to Ryogoku. They know what you're talking about. You say Sumo Hall. They still know what you're talking about. Nobody calls it the full name.
Or when it comes down to New York, if you're saying you want to go to Madison Square Garden, you're saying, hey, I'm going to MSG, or I'm going to the Garden.
Exactly, yes. Exactly. But this show, it was called A New Era, and it was supposedly supposed to be their big hype debut into the world of Japanese, not Japanese MMA, but like into the Japanese bowl of combat sports, because they do their shows in Singapore and I think Indonesia and also the Philippines mostly. But 1FC has been wanting to do Japan for a while, and this was their time to do it. They supposedly said they sold out Sumo Hall. They did not. I can assure you that because I know people that went to that show, and they could tell me that if the show was sold out, they certainly did not sell out the tickets, because I know they either didn't sell the show or they paid for the show. One of the two.
It was probably comp tickets.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Exactly. And I can also tell you the other reason why I don't believe it was, because if you look at how they lit the show, you can see that they did not show the audience. I can tell you for a fact that most of the time, they did not show the audience, I think, at all during this 6-hour show. So if they really did, they would have shown the audience, like shown all those people that were sitting there in Sumo Hall. I forgot it was in. Yeah, so basically, if you watch the show in America, you had to watch it through the 1FC app or through the Bleacher Report, BR Live, which I never did before. I had to make an account. I hated doing that, but yeah, that's how I watched the show. I I won't lie, the show was fantastic. There was a lot of great fights in the card. There was actually one fight it's going to be one of my worst fights of the year. It was a kickboxing match between. Let me just get the names of the two fighters correctly. Remember, it was a Greek guy and a Malaysian guy, but I want to get the names of them correctly. Oops, excuse me.
It's okay.
It was a Muay Thai kickboxing match between Panasas Youssef from Cyprus, not Greek, as Cyprus, defeating Mohammed bin Mahmoud from Malaysia. And this is one of the worst fights I've seen this year because Mohammed kept on fouling to the point that he got a yellow card, and basically the fighters was basically doing nothing. So, absolutely terrible fight, absolutely shitty, and I don't recommend that anybody watch it. But the main card itself was great because every match was a finish. You had some great finishes like Demetrius Johnson submitting Yuya Wakamatsu, Eddie Alvarez in his one FC debut getting knocked out by Timothy Nasty-kun. Nastyukin, yeah. Much to the surprise of everybody. Fairtex getting his win backs against Andy Sauer. Can't forget that.
Oh, yes. Yacht Sinclair, E-Way Fairtex. I-Way, E-Way.
And Anwon San, the big star from I'm forgetting, Burma, from Myanmar.
Burma.
Knocking out Ken Hasagawa in their rematch. And Zhang Jingyang making the comeback from Angela Lee, who, let's be honest, I think that Angela Lee, they were banking on her to be like their Ronda Rousey, 1FC, and Angela Lee almost could have won that match had it gone decision, but she went up a weight class, I believe. She normally fights at atom weight. That's the other thing as well. So they do their weight classes differently. They call like lightweight, like what do you do, Christian? Do you know how they do their weight classes exactly? Again, they do them much differently than like UFC or RIZIN, right?
I think when it comes down to 1FC, the way that they do weight classes is based on a person's walking weight.
That's what I thought. Okay, well, I've heard of some things that may not be 100% true, but that's supposedly what they do.
Right.
Actually, on the prelim card, the main event was a match between Danny Kingod from the Philippines and defeating Senzo Ikeda from Japan. One of the best matches I've seen this year. Just an absolute war between these two.
Oh yeah, and Ikeda is a former King of Pancrase champion.
Exactly.
If I'm not mistaken.
Shinya Aoki getting his win back from and getting the one lightweight championship from Edward Folyang by submitting him in the first round. But the big story of the card for me was that Bibiano Fernandez winning the championship again, getting back to his championship that he lost from Kevin Bellingham, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Bellingham. By illegal elbows and punches, illegal elbows to the back of the head. I can't remember the last time the titles ever changed on a DQ ever in MMA history for a major organization.
Ever in MMA history, more like ever in combat sports.
So, and these two had fought each other, I think, one other time, in which Bellingham defeated Bibiano Fernandez by a somewhat controversial split decision, and that's how he got the title. Mm-hmm. But this is the best thing I think could have happened for that fight. Because now you have an excuse to have another rematch. Philippines.
Yeah, most definitely.
Have in the Philippines. In my personal...
one that probably might sell tickets.
Exactly.
How it ended.
People were like pissed off about it. No, fuck, that's like the best thing that could have happened between these two because people were like, it wasn't. I thought that Bibiano won the first match. Oh no, I thought Kevin won that match. Most people thought that Bibiano won it, but the judges saw it differently. But regardless, now you have a second match where there's a DQ finish. That's great. I love that. And also, it was in the third round, and I think they gave the first round to Bibiano and the second round to Kevin. So the third round, basically, and it ends in it's a great story. I like it. I don't know why they were so upset about that. That's just me. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about ratings and one's presence in Japan. And Christian, do you want to read?
And not to mention, when it comes down to ratings, we're also here to talk about, a potential thing that's happening with another one of their television partners.
Yeah. They were also aired on TNT at 11:45 the next day, April 1st, which I totally forgot about. I would have watched it had I remembered. But,
Okay, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't remember.
Or didn't know. But one promoted this show as like the biggest show in Japanese MMA history. This is what their CEO, Chatri, has said. I'm not making this up. This is what he has actually said. He said that Japanese MMA has been dormant for the last, I don't know how many years. The ratings came out on Abema TV where it aired live. And Chachi apparently, didn't he say that this show was watched by a total of 49 million people worldwide?
Oh God, the exaggerated numbers. Yes, he did say that it was watched by over 1.2 billion people around the world.
Okay. So
we all know that's a bald-faced lie.
So here are the ratings that came out. So they're under 200,000 people. So, and here are the things that beat it. Deep Jewels, which is an only women's MMA, Pancrase, and Crush, which is a kickboxing promotion, and a bunch of other things as well beat it.
Oh, you mean like news programs?
Anime, some fishing program as well, apparently, also. Okay, yeah. These are, by the way, these are from Karefan, who you can follow on Twitter. I believe he's from Japan, and he got these ratings. So he said that the other things that made that.
Oh no, actually he's from San Francisco, California, and his name is Karefan.
Okay. What else was there that beat it? A shogi tournament, figure skating, and talk show.
Oh, wow. I mean, like, seriously, wow. That's the best they could try and attempt.
So, yeah, for all those people that were like, that this was, here's the thing, this show did have a lot of hype behind it. I heard, a lot of people were talking about it in the MMA bubble. And including in places where normally non-UFC talk is a scourge, I'll say. This show did get a lot of hype.
Exactly.
So,
like a certain subreddit that blocks people for even talking about non-UFC stuff.
Yes. Or gets mad that I posted an article about Manny Pacquiao going to RIZIN and then saying that I had clickbait in the headline even though I didn't. I said that he was signed as an ambassador non-combat to RIZIN. But that's beside the point. So,
exactly.
This show did have a lot of hype behind it, at least outside Japan. But apparently in Japan, they couldn't give a shit.
Damn.
Actually, the exact ratings were 140,300. And that was 10,000 less than an anime called Fate Stay Night, which I've never heard of.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen the English dub for it yet.
Okay. So, I don't know how big Abema TV is there. I think it's is that a regular channel, like a TV Asahi, or is it like a cable channel that you have to pay for?
Yeah, it's one of the big channels in Japan.
Okay.
Along with NHK, TV Tokyo, and TV Asahi.
Okay. Just for also let everybody know, I was interviewed on Abima TV when I did interview Ken Hasagawa for MMAsucker.com. There were TV Abima crews there, and they interviewed me about Ken Hasagawa. So I'm on Abima TV at some point, and I don't know, and I will probably never see it myself. But I digress.
Wow.
But yes, so
they're probably gonna know you, right?
Oh, that'd be yeah. I did plug the podcast. I was like, and when they asked me for my name, I was like Andrew Benjamin, host of We Are Rising podcast / MMA journalist, something like that. But Abima TV, yeah. I don't want to say that nobody tuned in, but I think that the hype, for one, is just what it is, hype. And
yeah,
they're showing up.
To be honest, why do you think that Turner Sports signed them on?
I have no idea. I don't know, maybe Chachi's, he has to get the gab and he convinced them otherwise. But, they're not airing, that's the only show they've aired of theirs. So,
Yeah, but Andrew, if you think about it, when it comes down to the ONE FC deal that they just signed late last year and that started back in January, they started back in February, but still, point of the matter is, they're going to be doing this like once a month when it comes down to these condensed shows, because even though there's going to be 20 of these this year, 20 of these ONE FC events, they're going to basically treat these shows, like for the condensed version, like they're tentpole shows, even though they know that they're not going to get that much of a good rating in the U.S.
Well, that's what happens when you air at 11:45 p.m. in the United States Eastern Time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, especially Eastern Time, and then expect the people out in the Pacific Time zone to watch it at 11:45 their time.
So basically, yeah, I don't know what I think that ONE FC is trying to become like UFC. I think that's what their main goal is. They want to be a second competitor to UFC. And I don't, I think they're an example of they're counting their chickens, their eggs before they hatch.
Before they hatch.
Yes. They are absolutely doing that. And I guess they have unlimited money because clearly it won't affect them. They're still doing a whole bunch of shows this year, but clearly, and the worst thing is when people buy into this hype, that when ONE FC is telling, because there are people who do believe this shit.
Yeah, like the people that basically say that Mei Yamaguchi is the greatest Japanese women's mixed martial artist of all time. We all know that Megumi Fuji really beat her.
And you could also make
so did Ayaka Hamasaki.
Exactly. I know there's a lot of listeners that we have don't like UFC, that they're tired of UFC stuff, but here's the thing I could say as well. UFC, at least there's a standard of like, okay, if you've made it here and you're a champion here, you could be considered one of the best. ONE FC does not have that standard yet. At all.
Exactly.
And here's the thing, ONE FC put on a great show, I will not deny. New Era was a great show. Maybe one of my favorite shows of the year, depending on how things go, with the other shows that I'm going to watch this year. But they have a lot. They have a long way to go if they want to compete in Japan. Pride didn't come to America as soon as they started. They waited for a while. They knew when to come. They knew when to expand. They knew when to broaden. There's a reason why, also, was, going back a little bit to WrestleMania week, a bunch of other there was some other UK promotions and a German promotion that came by that hardly drew because nobody.
Oh, basically Fight Club Pro and WXW come.
And IPW, right? And IPW UK. They came over. Nobody came to those shows. Here's the thing, DDT came to those shows because DDT built up a brand, Stardom built up a brand, obviously New Japan. You gotta build up your brand first.
And if if you don't build up your brand and expect to come over to the States, the biggest combat sport weekend of the year, you're not going to get that many people. You're not going to get that many asses in seats, as the old term goes.
Exactly. And so, all these things about, that one was going to sign Tenshin, one was going to sign Reina. None of this stuff is, listen, don't believe any of the shit that Chatri says. He's a guy, he's the type of guy, if he tells me the sky is blue, I'm going to look up just to make sure that he's not bullshitting me. And so, I know that a lot of people were worried that, Tenshin was in the audience, Reina was in the audience. Here's the thing. None of these people, listen, Andy Sauer is an exception because Andy Sauer, here's the thing I will tell you about Japanese people, is that Japanese people will very rarely ever leave companies that they first sign with. They will work for other companies, but they will very rarely ever leave their home base.
Because they basically believe in a little thing called loyalty, which is something that Shangwele, Magnum Shangwele, and Andy Sauer didn't really understand much of.
There's wrestlers that have been wrestling for New Japan for over 30 years. There's for BJW, Dragon Gate. They haven't left because that's just what is instilled in them. People don't have to worry about Tenshin or Reina going to one at all at this point. And I don't and RIZIN has nothing to worry about one. Here, RIZIN's ratings were 100 times higher for the New Year's Eve show than what one's got.
That's as far as combat sports go, because their main competition was obviously concerts and nighttime soap operas.
Exactly. And RIZIN had a lot more competition because it was on New Year's Eve, so they're competing against They were competing against non-combat stuff to get eyes. So yeah, I want what was it that you also want to talk about something else regarding this, Christian? Before we go into Quintet, was there anything else you want to talk about with one?
Oh yes. As far as Turner Broadcasting goes, as far as the folks at Turner Network Television and Turner Broadcasting Services, which are the actual full names of TNT and TBS, the former have been around since 1988. The latter has been around as a network since 1976. But still, when it comes down to their future, it's right around the corner because they got upfront meetings in New York City in May. I think it's May 14th or 15th, one of the two, but they are going to be announcing that All Elite Wrestling will be joining the Turner family as far as a TV deal goes. And I'm, for one, happy to see other professional wrestling promotions get that chance in the spotlight because of the fact that, they need to realize that the WWE ain't the only game in town, brother. But still, I hate the fact that a lot of people are basically saying, we want to see this on Thursday night. We think that it'll succeed on Tuesday or Thursday night, but they need to realize that the NBA, the National Basketball Association, the stuff that they basically had on their airwaves since 1984 as far as the entire league has been concerned, even though I know that TBS aired Atlanta Hawks games prior to that. But still, they need to realize that the NBA ain't gonna, waste time trying to move schedules just to benefit to AEW, just to bend their wheel, so to speak.
Exactly. The NBA, and here's the thing, as somebody who's not a basketball fan, the NBA is worth a lot more money than ONE FC. The TBS, TNT...
And it's worth a lot more money than All Elite Wrestling. No disrespect.
Exactly. So, for all those, ONE FC may, and here's the thing as well, you can also credit to UFC. UFC knew their value. They knew that's why they took that Fox deal, and then they took the ESPN deal. So they know exactly where they are in the sports spectrum. It sounded like...
If you think about it, they had to start off somewhere because, I mean, if you imagine how they got their start, how their popularity grew to the point where they got a reality TV deal with Spike TV that led to them having full events on that network.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounded like TNT just had some programming block that they just didn't have anything for. I don't know what's on TNT anymore, or and they were like, ONE FC just happened.
Well, all you need to know is that other than the NBA, other than golf, I don't know why, all they show is Law and Order reruns.
Okay.
From what I
So they probably, it sounded like they offered something to ONE FC, and ONE FC just said yes to the very first block that they gave. Because listen, here's the thing. At least the RIZIN show aired at... When did that first RIZIN show air on Spike TV when they did? Do you remember what time it did?
It aired as part of a 2-day marathon that was called Breakfast with Fedor.
Ah, yes. So that was in the afternoon, which on a Friday or a Saturday?
Actually, that was on a Saturday. No, that was on a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So, listen, a lot of people don't work on Sundays, so they probably thought that'd be a good time. Here's the thing. If you want people to watch your program, your sports program, you don't have it on Monday night at 11:45 p.m. when the next day people are working, and, yeah. It sounds like exactly like just they got, that was the first offer they got, and they said yes. This is what it sounds exactly like with ONE FC. But
then again, when it comes down to having a combat sports show, you don't want to have it at 11:45. You want to have it at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, when everybody's watching.
Exactly. So, that's what I have to say about ONE FC. I think people need to calm down with the hype. I think that people need to realize that this is, it's not here, it's not going to steamroll RIZIN. They don't have 600 million viewers, or whatever the fuck it is. It's a growing company right now. I know it's been around for a while, and now it's starting to get, like, a lot more notoriety, but it's certainly not where it used to be. It's certainly not where it can be. And I think that RIZIN fans need to not be as worried about ONE. Need to be worried about ONE as much as I think that they are. Even Vitaly Shemetov, who is not booked for RIZIN 15, we're gonna get into that after we just talk about Quintet. He even said he will never go to ONE because he says that real combat sports is in Japan and that he will only fight in RIZIN. So you even got fighters that will not even go to ONE that are not Japanese.
True. Very true. Which basically shows you how much of a target that a lot of... No, wait, it doesn't say... what am I saying? It basically shows that a lot of people feel that the interest is there in Japan. So I won't be surprised if Vitaly Shumtov ends up finally getting that call to fight on a RIZIN card down the line, but I hope they realize his worth.
Exactly.
And as far as what I have to say about All Elite Wrestling, these people haven't even put on a damn show yet. They need to give it time, and I think when it comes down to, them potentially signing this deal with Turner Broadcasting and Warner Media, they need to realize that Turner has a multi-million-dollar contract with the NBA. They're not going to basically give up a time slot that's already filled with NBA games or give up any part of their playoff package, which is 40 games and 40 nights, winner go home, yada, 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 just to give them a time slot. Because when it comes down to those time slots, that shit don't come cheap. And I think that when it comes down to, when it comes down to Turner Broadcasting having AEW or even ONE FC, they're going to realize that whatever I mean, Turner is going to realize that whatever the NBA wants, they're going to get. And their will is going to come way before 1FC or AEW's wants, pretty much. So, yeah, all I have to say is, when it comes down to the 1FC fan base and the AEW fan base is to basically have patience, let it grow, and realize that they're not going to change the damn time slot just because they say so.
I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I don't think I need to say any more. With that, do you want to go on to Quintet for a little bit, Christian?
Yes, you can go ahead on to Quintet. I mean, I didn't watch much of the show. I will be able to watch it down the line, but you can go ahead and talk about it. I'll just feel like an idiot.
Basically, so I watched the Quintet show from this past weekend. Actually, I think it was from 2 weeks ago or a week ago. No, it was the Sunday of WrestleMania, so it was this past week that it was on. Sunday, April 7th.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, Quintet is 4 teams made up of 5 participants. It's a grappling Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament. And this was Quintet Fight Night 3, and it was the first time that they've had an all-women's tournament. It was at the Arena Tachikawa Tachichi? Is that how it's pronounced?
Tachihi.
Tachihi.
Yeah. Well, at least that's how we try to pronounce it. Stuart Fulton said it a lot differently.
By the way, Stuart Fulton, here's the thing. If they were using Joe Ferraro or Frank Trigg for RIZIN, I would say hire Stuart Fulton immediately. This guy is so good and so on the point with his commentary. I love him. He is fan-fucking-tastic.
Damn right.
Also, Mei Yamaguchi was there as a translator and also to provide color. She sounded like she was bored though. She can speak fluent English, but she sounded like really bored being on commentary. That's just me though.
Well, when it comes down to these jiu-jitsu meets, you have to be a little mild-mannered. You have to not, I'm not trying to say pretend like it's a damn golf tournament, but you have to at least show some respect to what you're seeing instead of, have a loud attitude like you're at an MMA event in North America.
Okay, yeah, no, that's true. But like Stuart Fulton, like when someone would get a heel hook or get a submission, he'd be like, "Oh, he's got the heel hook in. Is he going to escape? Is he gonna, he would bring some energy and some excitement to it. But it's also so Quintet, it's elimination based. So 2 teams face off against each other. And then after whichever teams win those matches go on to face the finals, and you win by getting submission or by getting less warnings. Here's my problem with my big problem with Quintet. I think there are too strict of warnings, giving out the yellow cards, shindos, I thought they call them. What they consider no activity. There are times where it's like, okay, there's really the person can't do anything active because they're caught in a submission, but like if they move a certain way, that submission could be locked in from that position. So what do you expect them to do? They can't roll the other way because they physically can, but if they roll to the other side, that submission can be placed in. I don't know. I think they're a little bit too strict with the shindos. That's just me. But there was 4 teams. BJJ Kunoichi team, which is basically means ninja women, had Rikaku Yuasa, Iori Ichigo, Nanami Ichikawa, Yugi Sugiuchi, Akiko Sawada. They faced off against the Sun Sholera team, which was Miyu Yamamoto, Sarah McMahon, Mika Nagano, Megumi Sugimoto, Miyu Ikimoto. I gotta say something about Sarah McMahon. Sarah McMahon. I don't know why they didn't have her be the first starter of the team, because As soon as she went up, she tapped out 2 people, 1 person within like 15 seconds. I knew that's Sarah McMahon, and here's the thing: Sarah McMahon was the biggest person on her team. I think she compared to the other team members, she looked like a giant. She looked enormous.
Well, even though a lot of people do watch the UFC, when it comes down to, potentially seeing Sarah McMahon, not that many people in Japan know about her.
Yeah, which is why, she stood out so much from everybody else. On the Deep Jewels team, you had King Reina, Tomo Miyazawa, Emi Tomimatsu, Yukari Nabe, and Hikaru Ono. And they all came out with how King Reina comes out with the stuffed animal of the bear. They all came out with their own stuffed animals. Someone had a Pokemon, and someone had a monkey, I think, or an alien, I don't know. And they took on 10th Planet team, which was Lila, Smaja Cruz, Fabiana Jorge, Liz Carmouche, who I didn't know was on, who was a 10th Planet person. Apparently she is. I never knew that. Grace
Gundrum, pretty much was the youngest person in Quintet.
Actually, there was somebody younger. I think it was me.
Ikemoto, right?
Yes, she was 14 years old. 14 fucking years old, and she's in a high level grappling tournament. Grace Gundrum, as you said, and then Elvira Karppinen, who's from Finland, I believe.
Elvira Karppinen.
Yeah, she's from Finland. To me, she was the star of the show, of the entire tournament. Like, absolutely amazing grappler. Absolutely, she was fantastic. And, like, I love the way that they structure this. Like, you never know who's going to be, who's going up against who first. So here's the thing. So Sarah McMahon, so when McMahon's team was up, they were just losing to this to Yuki Sugiuchi, who was just tapping out.
Basically, they were just taking submissions.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not even gonna bother to say it.
Then Sarah McMahon comes. Sarah McMahon looks like a Mega Man boss compared to her opponent. She taps her out of a guillotine choke in 24 seconds, then taps out the next person, Akiko Sawada, in a minute, almost a minute 30. Then Yuasa Rikako comes in, and then taps out Sarah McMahon. McMahon outweighs her by about maybe 20 pounds, maybe 25. I love how the tournament, like, the matchups that it makes. It's totally like, you never know who's going to face off against who. You had Liz Carmouche and King Reina going to a draw, but, like, you think, oh, Liz Carmouche is going to steamroll through Reina because she's shorter, but then you forget, oh, Reina weighs a lot for somebody her size, so they're going to probably just, it could be Reina who outpower. No, it was, I just love how they structured the tournament, and it just makes for so many compelling grappling matches. There was also two super fights. They had Shutaro Debana, who's probably my favorite Japanese grappler right now, tapping out Robson Tano from Brazil by armbar, and Debana, I think he's also an MMA fighter as well. He's fought for Shuto before. And the other match was Tomoshiki Sera tapping out Shuto Watanabe by ankle lock. Now, who's Shuto Watanabe the son of again, Christian? Do you happen to remember?
Wait a minute. You're talking about Shuto Watanabe?
Yeah, he's the son of a famous MMA fighter. I'm forgetting who, but he named his son after Shuto because that was a fighting promotion that he fought for. I'm having a brain fart right now, but I should have wrote it down. But yeah.
Oh my God, I don't even know. I mean, I'm not trying to play dumb and basically say I don't know what you're talking about, because it's kind of slipped to my.
Okay,
Head.
Yuichi Watanabe is his father. Yuichi Watanabe.
Okay.
So they had two super fights. They were with males, by the way. But yeah, I love the structure of the tournament. It makes it, you may not see Liz Carmouche and King Reina in an MMA match ever, but seeing them in a grappling match is like, it makes you think like, how will this match go? And then you see people like Elvira Karppinen, and you're just like, oh my god, this woman is just steamrolling through everybody. And it's just like, I just love it. It's like, I know that grappling can be like very hit or miss with a lot of people. But I think the way they structure the tournament, the way that the matches are set up, the super fights, the fact that also, that the matches, so also the matches go 8 minutes if the competitors are within, I think 7 kilograms of each other. If there's if it's more than 7 kilograms, it goes 4 minutes. And so, the matches aren't too long. It's not like EBI rules where there has to be a submission or something like that. It's not like submission on the ground or there's no points or whatever. There has to be a submission win, or else if there's a draw or no warnings or whatever, the judges decide. So there's at least I like that. I like that aspect to it. I
think a lot of people like that aspect about Quintet because of the fact that. It's basically because of the fact that it requires more action.
And it requires more action, and just, it's also, it's on the UFC Fight Pass for anybody that doesn't know. So there's English commentary, English graphics, and, also I think that the language and just the way that grappling is, I think a lot of people are turned off because they're like, I don't know about this submission stuff. I'm going to be confused. But Stuart Fulton, Mei Yamaguchi, they were able to make you. They're able to make you just at ease, and he did the same thing with Rise. People. It was my first time watching a Rise show. He was. It was basically like having somebody next to you there and basically telling you, okay, this is what's happening right now. This is what's happening right now, and me going, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. Okay. Oh, so and basically he's thinking 10 steps ahead of me of like my questions and like what I'm wondering about, and he's explaining it already. I absolutely love this show. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. I cannot wait for the next Quintet show. Yeah, I don't know when it's gonna be, but I will certainly be watching it in the next Quintet show, and I hope that everybody can also watch it as well. Absolutely fantastic promotion for grappling. Go watch it, especially Fight Night 3.
Hey, I bet a lot of people. A lot of people will be excited to watch that because, didn't you basically say in that interview with Lenny Harder prior to that if you want to watch Quintet Fight Night 1 and then Fight Night 2, because if you skip all the way to 3, you're missing out.
Oh, I think she said that. I think she said that in the interview. But I think I understand why, because Quintet's still like a short. You can still kind of watch all the shows because it hasn't been around for a long time. Don't try watching UFC from UFC 1 until now. You'll be here forever. I think it was great to just have. Yeah, I think I think you could get to any Quintet show, that has English commentary and all that stuff, which they all do because they're all on the UFC Fight Pass, and you'll see some familiar faces as well. You'll see a Josh Barnett or a Sakuraba or a Gary Tonin, Liz Carmouche, King Reina, and also it's just funny to just see who gets teamed up with who. Mika Nagano, who had that fight with Miyu Yamamoto at RIZIN 14. They're teaming up. That's great. That's fucking great. I think that's fucking great. It's just really a fantastic, a great way to start off a tournament.